The 15 Pro Max has proven to be the perfect solution for my needs. In the summer, I did try Android, but in my heart, I kind of knew that I'd probably always end up back with iPhone. And a little bit later on, I'm going to let you know why, even if Pixel and Android had proven to be really, really good, why I think they would have struggled to bring me back away from iOS and iPhone for good. Now, as I mentioned, in the summer, I did try Android for the first time ever, actually. And that was born out of a couple of reasons. First of all, I thought here on the channel, at least if I'd tried using Android, it would give me more context. It would give me a better voice to talk about what I like about iOS and iPhone. And also, if I'm being really honest with you, I was getting a little bit bored of iPhone at that point. Now, the iPhone 14 Pro was the first Pro phone that I'd ever bought and owned. And it was good, don't get me wrong, it was a good phone, but it kind of missed the mark somehow. It never really felt premium. In some respects, it almost felt unfinished. Let me explain. It was, well, first of all, the size. Now, that was my fault. On the weekend, I wanted to pick it up, the launch weekend. I couldn't get the larger 6.7-inch screen, so I had to go for the 6.1-inch screen. And I don't like those smaller phones. I just don't. It doesn't feel usable, of a usable size to me. So that's on me, though. I get that. But also, it wasn't a very comfortable phone to use for any long periods of time. Those really square, harsh edges that they had just didn't feel very comfortable at all. And that, coupled with a poor battery life, just meant the whole thing didn't feel particularly premium. It was an odd feeling. Sure, the cameras were good, but they were kind of poorly thought out. For the first time on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, we could shoot in ProRes. But because the files were so big, they were just unusable. You try shooting a 10, 15, 20-minute video for YouTube, which is what I bought that phone for, and you try getting those files that could be 50, 60, 70 gigs off of the phone, either via the lightning cable or by AirDrop. As I said, it's all but unusable. And the colours last year on the Pro phones weren't particularly inspirational either. They were okay. I picked the purple, which I think was probably around about the best of the colours that you could find last year. And then there was the display. Now, the display is good. Don't get me wrong. It is a lovely display, but it's only when I put it up against the Pixel, which is the Pixel 7 first of all, and then the Pixel 8 Pro, it just didn't feel quite as premium as that display felt. Somehow that display felt more inviting. It kind of drew you in more. The blacks looked black. It just looked richer and somehow better screen to use. I don't know why, but it was just that feeling, all of which was adding up to not feeling particularly premium with the use of the iPhone 14 Pro. Now, I heard a lot from Android users saying how they love their Android because they could personalize them. They could make them their own. They could tweak them and really begin to have the phone reflect their personality. And I suppose that, coupled together with the fact that I wasn't particularly enjoying the iPhone 14 Pro at the time, it was this perfect storm building up where I wanted to give Android a go. And so this summer, I did give the Pixel 8 Pro a really, really good tryout. I used it for many, many weeks. And I think the thing that I realized was that to win me over and to pull me away from iPhone, it would have needed to show me day and night improvements. It would need to have been masses better to encourage me to want to walk away from what I knew. Now, I'll be the first to admit, a large part of that is muscle memory. It's familiarity. I know where the timer is. I know where the stopwatch is. I know where the weather app is. And not only do I know where they are, I know how to use them and how they're going to react. And that muscle memory is a massive part of using any phone. I totally get that. But Android should have had that exciting newness feeling, that quality of I couldn't wait to play with it. It should have had that won me over. And initially I was tempted, but the more I started using the Pixel 8 Pro, and this isn't saying that the Pixel 8 Pro isn't a great phone, but I'm just trying to explain why it didn't win me over. It goes back to that argument that Android users were telling me that you could personalize the phone, you could make it feel your own. And I realized when I was sitting on the sofa one night with the Pixel 8 Pro, it felt good, but you know what? I'm not into arranging apps or what widgets I can have on my phone. I don't know if that's a difference necessarily. I could be getting into troubled waters here. I don't know if that's a difference between iPhone users and Android users, but that stuff just doesn't interest me. Look, each to their own. If you like getting home of a night and playing with your Android, that's great. And I do understand it. All I'm saying is it's not for me. And that's when the penny dropped, that perhaps Android just wasn't for me. I'm not interested in arranging my apps in certain order or putting them into app drawers. I don't hardly ever change wallpaper. I hardly ever change ringtones. I look at my phone as being partly a tool of my job, and familiarity gets work done. And I think that's when the penny dropped, that why Android just wasn't having the effect on me that I was perhaps hoping at that point that it maybe would have. I am glad that I tried Android. I really am. It gave me that context that I wanted. And you can call me an Apple fanboy or an iSheep all you want. All I can tell you is that working on an iPhone, I just get my work done. It works for me. And if it works for me, why should I look to move away from it? The release of iPhone 15 was so perfectly timed for me. There were so many things that I wasn't happy with the 14 Pro, and virtually all of those have been changed on the 15 Pro Max. I've said it before that the 15 Pro Max could well go down as one of the design classics for Apple. And after 3 or 4 months of use, you know what? I stand by that statement. It is a great phone to use. It's comfortable and it feels premium. The first thing I did this year was to make sure that I ordered in good time on the pre-order day. I got the 6.7-inch Pro Max size, the XDR panel. It's been fantastic. I love the size. It turns out I am that person that loves large iPhones. It just works for the kind of work that I want to do with it. Those harsh edges that I talked about before on the 14 Pro Max, they've now gone. They've been replaced by these lovely, smooth, curved edges. And that titanium rail that goes around the edge of the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max, I kind of wondered before I got my hands on it what all the fuss was going to be about. It's not so much about the weight saving that it makes, and it does, and they've changed the center of balance in there as well, so that the whole phone does feel lighter, but that's not the point of the titanium rail. It's Apple's design and ingenuity at its peak. It feels fantastic, it looks fantastic, and it's super tactile and aesthetic. And add all those qualities together, and suddenly this 15 Pro Max feels the quality premium phone that I always wanted the 14 Pro to feel. Apple have really nailed it with the design on the phone this year. Now, I've never been a bezels person. I've never been into the whole Bezelgate thing. I've never stared at those thick edges and think, I need smaller bezels. But all I would say, again, having used the phone now for 3 or 4 months, is that those slim bezels, coupled with the curved edges that you get on the 15 Pro Max, it almost feels like the screen is edge to edge once again, adding to that feeling of premium. So much about this phone, they really got right this year. But there is one oddity that still remains, and that is the screen quality. Now, I know that the Pixel 8 Pro is a little bit brighter at 2,400 nits, but that's not really, I'm not really talking about the brightness. It's still just this, it's this quality thing that I keep coming back to. Somehow the screen on the Pixel 8 Pro, and when I've looked at the Samsung S23 Ultra, the screens on both of those just somehow look better. That's not saying that the display in any way, shape or form isn't fantastic on the iPhone. It really is. But I think the other two phones have just slightly got the edge, and maybe that's something that Apple needs to just look into to see why those other two phones feel and look that little bit better. The action button was one of two kind of big headline features about the 15s before they were launched during the summer. And to be honest, the action button has turned out to be a bit of a damp squib. I don't know about you, but I haven't touched mine since I've picked it up. It's still mapped to the camera. But here's the thing, I never use it to launch the camera. Comes back to that old thing of muscle memory that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. I still reach for the icon on the screen, or even unlock and just open the phone manually from within the home screen. It's odd. It is that old thing of habits that you're used to, and possibly as a die-hard iPhone user yourself, you'll kind of know what I mean. But even if I wanted to map the action button to one of the other features, and I think a couple of features, 1 or 2 extra features have been added with the latest 17.2 update, even if I wanted to do that, it's just not in a good position. It's not ergonomically very well placed, and it's just not comfortable to use. So that one has kind of missed the mark a little bit. Before I carry on talking about the other feature that was fantastic, again, I just wanted to say thank you. We've had another great week, and we seem continually being on the road to growth at the moment. I've set my stall out to want to try to get to 5,000 subs before Christmas. Only you can make that possible for me. If you're enjoying the content that I put out here every week, I'm relying on you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when I upload, which tends to be on a Friday at the moment. And also just share, do all of that stuff. That is the only way this channel grows. And why is it important that the channel grows? So that I can go out and get more products. And if you like the way I talk about products, the honest way that I put things over, I need your help. I'm hoping there's going to be releases early in January. I want to try and buy those products and bring them to you. And that's only possible if the channel keeps growing. So thank you so much for everything that you've been doing over the past few weeks. It's meant the world to me. And also, we've got a lovely level of chat going on as well. You're getting involved with the videos. We're having conversations. And as you know, I'm doing my best to reply to every single comment. I don't think I've missed anybody out. If I have, I apologize, but I'm doing my very best because I still stand by the fact if you're kind enough to watch my videos and get involved with my videos, I want to try to chat to you. So yes, it might take me an extra hour in the morning to go through all of those comments, but it's worth every single minute because you are the people that I want to talk to. So thank you so much for being involved. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the videos, make sure turn on notifications and subscribe. Maybe tell a friend to subscribe. Let's just see if we can't hit that 5,000 subs by Christmas. We've still got 2 weeks left. It could happen. Now, the other feature that was the big headline feature on the phone this year, aside of the action button, was, of course, the fact that USB-C was coming to iPhone. Now, moving to one side or not taking the fact that possibly their hand was forced by the EU, that's not the point that needs to be made here. The fact is we've got USB-C, and it was the way that Apple integrated it into the phone that I think mattered the most. Before the phone was launched, all of the leakers were telling us it was going to be a Thunderbolt 4 port, which we know, of course, it's not. The way that they've manufactured and designed the port that you can shoot ProRes log, as I am now, this video is once again, as per the last 3 or 4 videos on the channel, I've put the Canon to one side and I'm shooting these videos on the 15 Pro Max via the Blackmagic app in ProRes and log. But the way those large files, and this file unedited, I'm dare say is going to be a 20-minute file, it's going to be near to 100 gigs. You don't need to order and buy an iPhone with a lot of storage on and then put it onto the SSD. It just records directly to the SSD. Now, Apple have kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit there. I'm not crying, and they've got enough dollars in the bank to see them through, I'm sure, but it actually works in our favor. You can actually order an iPhone with just a reasonable amount of storage on because it is never, ever going to touch the phone. That's where Apple have got it so right. It's a brilliant way that they've worked out of making these files this time around really, really usable for professional users. And just mentioning Pixel for a moment, well, it's more to do with file size, actually. At least if I sit and shoot a big file like this, I'm aware that I'm shooting a large file. I need to look at file management on the phone. Pixel have just updated their software, their operating system, to have night sight and video boost, which looks great. I haven't tried it yet. It's something I might try out on next week's video. If you'd be interested, let me know. But I'm wondering, those files that come back are 3-4 times the size of those original files. And you know what it's like. We don't always go in and manually check. So if suddenly you've got the original video file there, plus you've got a much larger file there, I've got a feeling pretty soon a lot of Pixel owners are going to find their local storage is getting a little bit squeezed. It sounds good, but I think the weakness could be that you're going to have big files on your phone that you're not really aware about. And even with video boost and night sight, or night shoot, whichever it is, they're both off-device functions. With iPhone, everything's happening on device. I am shooting this video directly on the iPhone, directly to the Samsung T7 SSD. Everything is local. And I think that's what's making it a winning solution. Out of all of the smartphones, and okay, as I said, hands-on, I haven't used Samsung's flagship, the S23, or soon to be S24 Ultra, and as good as I know it is, and I know it shoots in 8K, even the staunchest Samsung user, and I think Google Pixel owners that love video would admit that when it comes to professional level video, Apple have still just about got it nailed. Picture-wise, that's a different story, really. That's more of a personal choice. Neither camera on the 15 Pro Max or the Pixel 8 Pro is that far ahead of the other. Both have a certain color look, both have a certain style, and I think it comes down to which one you happen to prefer. I wouldn't say either camera is head and shoulders above the other. That's more of a personal choice. But where Apple did get it right, once again this year with the design, was putting that 48 megapixel sensor coupled with the 1 times, 2 times, and the 5 times 120mm zoom camera lenses. That means that this phone is pretty much covered for any kind of photos you want to take out on the fly. So having used 2 of the 3 flagship phones this year, and that's the reason that I'm glad I tried Android, is that I can now hand on heart say that I actually prefer the form and functionality of an iPhone. It fits my personality more. If an Android fits your personality and you're the person that enjoys playing with apps, layouts, designs, wallpapers, widgets, that's great. I totally get it. We're all in this together to some degree. But for me, the phone is a professional tool and it reflects my personality, I guess, insofar as I want to use it. Its form, its function just works absolutely perfectly for me. And of course, the other point is that the iPhone fits into my life perfectly. Now, I've been an iPhone user and an Apple user for the best part of a decade at this point. Both of my feet are very heavily buried and planted in Apple's ecosystem. And that means that my habit comes at a cost. I get that, but it's kind of almost a cost that I'm willing to pay because of the convenience, because of the way everything works, because I know everything is working together. I actually use the iPhone less than I use my Macs, but it's actually the most important device in the whole chain. Without the iPhone sitting central to everything, you really would find it all falls apart. At home, I use the phone often as remote control on the Apple 4K TV. If I'm playing music, when I'm out, I'll use handoff onto the HomePods. In the car, it's a navigation and entertainment system. Of course, being a Mac user, it fits into my daily workflow. Everything's in sync all of the time. Handoff, AirDrop, everything just works. The iPhone is integral to absolutely everything that you do. Now, a few weeks ago, I said that Apple was almost as much a lifestyle company as they are a tech giant. And I totally stand by that. They bring us into this lifestyle of wanting to use Apple all of the time. And more than any of the other companies out there, Apple delivers. Apple has got an answer for all of our needs. And you know what? I don't think any of this has happened by mistake. I think Apple very much had a plan years and years ago. And if they had a master plan, geez, it has come together pretty damned well, wouldn't you say? Look, I'm not sitting here trying to say that Pixel or Samsung aren't great phones. I'm sure they are. But what they can never deliver is the totality of sitting in the Apple ecosystem. Everything comes together so perfectly when you happen to be an iPhone user. The iPhone is central to everything. Those phones may be great, but they just weren't great enough for me. I tried leaving. I really did. I tried something new. And you know what? iOS and iPhone still made me come back. And if ever Apple needed to deliver, it was for me this year with the 15 Pro Max. They convinced me this is where I want to be. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video, just looking at how important the iPhone 15 is to my workflow, quite possibly to yours, and also to the way it fits in to the whole Apple ecosystem. There is no other word for it. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. All of that stuff really does help the channel out. Let's keep pushing for that 5,000. It's a big push, but I reckon we might just get it done by the end of this year. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week, possibly where we might look at the Pixel up against the iPhone in a more head-to-head competition. Let me know if that would interest you. But anyway, as I said, thanks for watching so much. I'll see you next week.